Blade Talk with Scab and Joe.
The American experiment requires us all to push the boundaries.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Blade Talk with Scab and Joe. Sit back, relax. We got a pretty good show here. Welcome to Blade Talk, everybody. I'm hoping my face gets focused here. Yeah, we're okay. All right. Welcome to Blade Talk, everybody. To Blade Talk with Scab and Joe. I am really amped up and excited about this particular live because we got off-grid. And if you guys know my channel, you know how much I love off-grid. Scab as well. I mean, we love off-grid. Not because of anything other than the fact that the knives, you hold them in your hand, they're comfortable, and they freaking work. They're fit and finish. Everything about them is excellent. They're just wonderful knives. And you know what? For the price, they're probably some of the best out there, especially in the price class that they're in. There's really nothing better. So before we go any further, guys, again, welcome into the room. Scab and Cary they're in the background there. But before we open up, as you know, with my channel, with Scab's channel, and with Blade Talk, conjunction together, awareness to veterans, hashtag 22 a day, no more. Anything over 0 is too much. It's just basically awareness for that fact and a welcome mat that we're rolling out to veterans on our channels, on Blade Talk. Sit back, relax, enjoy, and know that you have a place here always with us. So without further ado, let's bring the guys into the room. Let's get Blade Talk going with off-grid knives. And here we go. Welcome, guys, into the room. Welcome, Cary. Welcome, Scab. What's up, guys?
Good evening. Good evening.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
100%.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Cary, let's jump into it, man. Give us a little background on you, on the company, how you got here, and you can abbreviate it how you want, but introduce yourself and let's get going.
Yeah, I'm Cary OREFICE. I own Off-Grid Knives. I started Off-Grid Knives, so I'm the owner, founder. And if I could give just a quick background, as quick as I can, because it's a long story, but I'll try to sum it up. I mean, how do you end up owning a knife company and creating knives and selling knives? It's like a whole different animal because we collect knives, but to go to the other side and start selling them, whole different ballgame. So, when I was a kid, I would always be around tools. And so tools in general was always my thing as a kid. And when I was around, say, 11, 12 years old, I started like a bicycle business. I'd go around and I'd go door to door and I would fix people's bikes because I was a bike guy. I'd ride BMX bikes and this and that. So I always had tools in my hand. And in my dad's, toolbox, it's old school, like metal toolbox, really cool. So I always loved fumbling around in there, and I'd always find these cool old tools. And so I'd display them, I'd look at them, and I'd always have certain favorites that I gravitate to. And that kind of led me down the road towards knives. And then in addition to that, my dad was in the military, my uncle was a Marine, and my uncle, when he would come back, he went to Vietnam, but he luckily came back. But on my birthdays, he would always slip me a knife, okay? And he'd be like, don't tell your mom. And he'd give me the knife, and I'd be like, yeah, let's go. And so that was kind of it as I started going, and then this little collection started. And as that collection starts, it starts to grow. And over the years, you get a little bit into your teens, and it's up and down and so forth. But once I got into construction, I started using tools again, always carrying a knife again. And then it just kept evolving. And next thing I know, I have lots of tools, lots of knives, and never did I think I would sell it or design one or anything like that. And then fast forward to the internet age, when all of a sudden you could buy knives on eBay, and that kicked in at like 1996. I said, this is great. So all of a sudden I'm online, I'm clicking buttons and knives are just showing up at my door, and started that way, collecting. And then as I went into the real world, I had to get real jobs. And so I did odds and ends. I did all sorts of things, all the way from flipping homes to selling life insurance. I did a lot of different things like that. But eventually I got to a point where I wanted to do something on my own, do something different, and doing something online, selling online. And it was like a lightning bolt, sell knives. And then I go, I don't know what I'm doing. How do I do that? So I little by little chipped away and figured it out. And I started with one knife and a tactical pen. Okay. I put those on Amazon and they sold out. I went, okay, let's see what happened. Then I added a knife. And then little by little, I started chipping away. That's how it grew. And then I got it back onto the website. I grew the website, which then all I sell is the website and on Amazon. That's it. So as that evolved, there's a lot that I skipped over, but in general, that's kind of how I got to this point, because it ended up working out. I feel very blessed, lucky to be able to do this, bottom line, to be able to design these things and have people actually use them and like them and purchase them. It's an honor. Trust me.
What was your first one? First one you designed?
Oh, the first one that I designed? Yeah. Believe it or not, it was the Black Mamba. And
really?
Yeah. And that was early on. And it was one of those things that I drew it, had that reverse kind of tonto, almost a sheep's foot look kind of a thing, with the little, the spine had those little cutouts in it. I said, wow, this looks pretty cool. And I really kind of shelved it because I thought it was too far. I thought it was too crazy. So I was doing more conservative things, simpler, more safe designs in my mind at the time. So really the Black Mamba was my first one. And then I started doing, I mean, if I go back, I have to like pull up all the ones that I've made. When I looked the other day, I probably made over 200 at this point. And they come and they go, and some evolve and some die.
Right.
And and that's just the way it goes in any product that you make, right?
Cary, you design all of the knives that you sell? Are they all of your designs? Is it coming from your mind?
Yes. So I start out old school with a pencil and a paper, and I draw it and I sketch it. And then I keep erasing and moving and doing until I get it to that kind of point. And then what I do is I take it and I give it to people who know how to do CAD. I don't want to know how to do CAD. I don't want to waste my time with it. So just get it there, and then they can come up with the functionality of it and the internal workings and stuff. I wish I could say I did that, but I don't. And so then it becomes a reality. We get that prototype made. And then once I get it in my hand, I test it. I do it. It goes back and forth for a while. It's a long process. And I don't just throw it out there to the market. I wait. I want it as perfect as I can get it. And that's kind of how it goes, the process.
I think the first knife, is it the Alpha Dog? I believe that's it.
Yeah.
I believe that's the knife that kind of introduced me to off-grid, was the Alpha Dog through Kurt. Yeah, it's a beast.
Yeah, that thing's crazy.
Yes, very thick. Look at the thickness. I mean, it's crazy.
Absolutely beast.
That's like a tracker on steroids.
Yes, and the inspiration was the Becker BK2.
Okay.
And I owned that knife well before I was in, doing this. And so I love that knife. It had that thick spine and everything. And so the fact, I just wanted to do something more my style, which is the thicker grip. And then I said, if I'm going to go that crazy with the grip, I'm going to go that crazy with the broad blade shape. Yeah. And this was risky as well, because it's not a normal looking fixed blade. It's kind of chunky, it's fat, but you put it in your hand. I personally, once I did it, I said, oh yeah, this is me. This is what I like. And then you throw it out there and you hope that people will actually like it. And I keep reordering it because people are buying it. So that's a good thing. Yeah. And I've tweaked it a little bit,
Can we talk about your handles and your decision on your handles? Why do you approach the handles the way you approach them? Because, and I know SCAB feels the same.
Yeah.
A
No doubt.
blade is nothing without. I mean, you could have a Magna Cut steel, freaking obtanium. What did you call it? Obtanium steel blade scab? And if you don't have the right handle that's going to manage that blade, it means nothing. So I really want to know your approach and your philosophy around your handles.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what's crazy, and it might sound crazy to knife people, is I look at the handle before the blade. So that's how important it is. And when and it really comes from my background of the love of tools, you know, those old school thick made in America hammers and all the bigger, thicker tools. Now always gravitate to the bigger tools. You have the small, the medium, and the large. I'm always on the large side. And so it's really my background in that. And then working in construction, I would always weed out the garbage, and then I'd end up with these similar tools. Those handles that I used back in the day are really the ones that we have here, just with a little more ergonomic. And then with 3D printing, which is great, so we can make these different variations. I get the variations, I put them in my hand, no blade, just the handle. And I feel the handle and have these tweaks. I say, okay, tweak this, tweak that. And then that's how I come up with the bigger handles. But it's just a personal preference to have them a little bigger, you know. And like, for example, the rapid fires, I know a lot of people aren't down with the assisted stuff in the community and so forth, but the majority of people are not in the knife community. Nice, there we go. But these handles on the rapid fires, they're big, you know. So these were kind of like an old school ZT feel to it. And when ZT discontinued that, before I even got into this, I was like, what are they doing? This is the perfect handle, you know, and they jumped ship on it. But so I made something similar to that so that it would have that full hand grip, and then of course throw the cool blade on it. And there you go. Exactly. Yeah. So handles, so important to me. It's like I start with the handle, work my way to the blade, and kind of go from there.
So how many different knives do you have in your inventory right now?
I'm like probably, you know, around 70 right now that are, you know, currently rolling. And then a bunch are phasing out of their first, and they're going to go into the V2 stage. So that's in design. So there's always a lag of time to get those back into the V2, V3 time. But anyway, yeah, about 70, you know, in that ballpark.
It's a good number. I mean, it's not an overwhelm, but it's a good number that's in control, and you have a grip, nice hold, a grip, nice grip as far as what you're selling. You know, it's not everything is just, you know, at that quality that you want it to be.
Exactly. And so what I've been doing lately is kind of like, okay, you have the Stinger XL, right? You guys know this one. Big Stinger XL. So what I did was I did the Stinger rapid fire, right? So I'm just basically taking the same blade and sticking with, it's like it's the theory of inch deep, mile wide. So if you got something, you know, that works, don't go off and start doing something else, because I have to be very efficient with everything I do. There it is. Very nice. The Viper V2.
V2. Yeah. This is awesome. Amazing.
And because of a small operation, I can't, you know, Benchmade can just like throw this out and do a red handle and do a white handle and do all these crazy things. And at this point, I can't do that, and I don't really want to. But it's just they can take those risks, and I have to be a little more smart about my decisions.
Yeah. Well, going back to the handle, like on this one, I like the way that it's the one you just said, Stinger XL. I like the way it contours to the hand.
Yes.
I like the way it moves around. You don't have a lot of it. It's a bigger knife, but you can do one-handed opening, which is big for me at work. I like that. And I like the way you kind of have where the pommel comes down, right? It tapers down. So you get a good grip. And I think you widening it here takes the clip out of it. You know what I'm saying?
You don't feel it, do you?
Yeah. If it's
Yeah.
too narrow, it's all in your hand. But with the width, you really don't feel it. I like that a lot.
That's true. That's a great point. And a lot of times, with my pocket clips, people love my pocket clips, which is great. The off-grid pocket clips, like Metal Complex always talks about my pocket clips. It's pretty funny. But I always try to get it so it'll hit that center point in your palm where
Yeah.
there's that gap. There's a gap, and you won't have a hot spot.
Yeah, I feel that 100%.
And
Yeah.
so always try to shoot for that. It doesn't always hit perfectly, but if I get it close, then it won't be a problem.
Well, and the crazy thing is, we talk about the community. The thing that the guys in the community go for are a lot of times different than what I go for. But in this case, in this juncture, it fits really well. I've got this one, and I've got to believe, is it the Badger?
The Badger?
I've got
This
the
one?
Badger, and I really like the handle on that one.
Yeah,
too.
the badges. Yeah, you have the I seen the badger on yours.
It's got like a peanut shape. It comes
Yeah.
down. It's got a big palm swell up there. So you like the ones that flare out and have it thicker at the bottom, so it's a nice palm swell.
Yeah.
So yeah, no doubt.
This one was gifted to me by a guy, Steve Garou, and it's become one of my favorites. But the Badger's one that I take with me when I go do anything. It's just a quick, handy
Yes.
EDC that you can use. I love that damn thing. And there was one, is it the law enforcement? Tell me that one. Not
Which
law
one?
enforcement.
Enforcer?
That's
No?
it. That's it. I really like that one too.
So you probably like the bigger one. So I have the Enforcer and then the EDC version and then the XL version.
Yeah, I like the bigger one.
Yeah, the XL, I put a big glass breaker on it, which you can take off. I know some people don't like that, but I made this one so the handle was so big that if you were to use the glass breaker, look at all that room.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of times the knives with glass breakers, your hand's just going to get wrecked if you end up using it. But if you put your hand back right here with your thumb, I mean, that's plenty of space to, bam, knock out a window or whatever.
And that's what people don't. Well, most people haven't ever put their hand through glass. I've got 90 scars from 90 stitches right here doing it. So it's smart to give yourself some room. I like that.
Even if it's just that much, that matters.
Yeah, sure it does. I just did, and I seen you had reposted some of it, and I really appreciate that. But I did the Cayman XL.
Yes.
That's a great, dude. That's one of my favorite off-grids for the fact that it's deceptive. It's aggressive looking. It's aggressive when people look at the tip. Oh, you could break. Well, you could break anything. But the tip is really strong for the way that flares. I thought you did an amazing job with that tip.
Thank you, because yes, there were a lot of, I mean, first of all, rave reviews overall. And then you have the sides where, but the tip is so thin, it's going to break. Well, it's going to break if you pry.
All right, we all back?
Yeah, we never left, Joe.
Oh, mine went out. I completely lost the screen.
Oh,
no,
I completely went out. Completely, it was a StreamYard thing. So you guys were live the whole time?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I thought I
We
lost the
thought
whole
you went
freaking
to your
broadcast.
time.
No, it completely, my whole screen shut off, and I had to come back in. All right. So as
All
long
right,
as
I'm glad you came back when you did. We were talking
Right.
shit about you.
oh, good.
yeah.
It's always a good feeling.
So basically I mimicked, this is the Cayman XL, right? And
Okay.
so this all also had some complaints because the tip is small. Look,
That's the one.
if you pry with a knife, it's a bad idea. Unless you have to, then go ahead and pry all you want. But it's just a bad idea for any knife. And I know they do tip retention tests and things like that. Look, if you do a tip retention with the XXL, it's going to break, especially if it's a deep one.
I
But
seen that.
It gives a little bit. It's got, and you can do, I saw, you were doing the batoning, and you can do all the things you could do with a normal fixed blade knife. And the beauty is a lot of hunters are talking to me that they've been using it. That thing just zips and carves and does what it's supposed to do. So yeah, that's a fun one. I was really happy when it took off and did very well. And I just basically copied this blade exactly, pretty much.
Aggressive. If people can say what they want, but it's an aggressive blade, and people like aggressive blades. A lot of folks do.
Yes.
You know, and the truth is, with that video, because I went back and watched it before we did the interview, it was like, that's a knife that just got more and more and more comfortable with. Joe's got, what is that one, Joe?
That's the Ridgeback.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've done
This
that.
has a strong tip. I mean, this tip is
like
rock solid.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, just like most of mine don't have the thin tip. It's like that's the only one that I did because I wanted to copy and do exactly what the Cayman XL was, the same profile, you know. But like the Tracker X2, I think you have that, and the Ridgeback. Yeah, go crazy on those if you want to try.
I went crazy on this thing. All right. Can I make a recommendation?
Absolutely.
Actually, I would like to recommend. I would like to actually request, not a recommendation, request. May I make a request?
Okay. Please.
This knife is probably one of the greatest performing knives I've had from you guys. I mean, I love this thing. This thing worked extremely well. Good. The handle for me probably tops the top, you know, as far as the handle for me. You know, at one point, this was my most comfortable handle from you guys, but I think this kind of tops it.
Okay.
What if you took this Tracker 2 and you did an XL version?
The like same,
exactly the same thing, but an XXL version, this thing would be a monster.
Oh, that's been on paper. I promise you.
Oh, good. Same blade shape. I mean, right, Scab? Can you imagine this thing in like a 10-inch blade?
Be a beast.
Oh, man.
Cool. Yes.
Look at this thing, you know?
Yeah, no, that is a great call. I will say we're aligning on that one for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And there it is, inch deep, mile wide. You take your original, design that works and tweak it and make it into these different things. Yeah.
So when you do come out with it, I'm going to take credit for it. All right.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say that I recommended it first. And Cary said, yeah, you know what? Great idea. Let's do it.
Yeah. I'll send you a commission check or something.
There you go. Awesome. I'm happy to hear that because I do love this thing, man.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. I will bring that back up to the top of the list. Yeah.
Cary, give me your top 3 folders that you make.
Yeah. I'm, the recent, if you start with say more of an EDC size, the full flat grind Stinger EDC, this is in my pocket a lot. I love it. This slices as good as any of my knives. It has, I always love the full flat grind, just like the Tracker X2. And this one's one of my favorites. So the Stinger EDC is something that's always in my pocket. And then if I go up a notch, I'm usually in the Stinger, I'm usually with the Stinger XL if I want to go big. That's one of them. And then, of course, I'm going to bring it up. This is the newest with MagnaCut, the fancy schmancy MagnaCut steel, the Mamba V3. So I've been carrying this a lot as well. And it's pretty cool because it looks like it should be a lot heavier than it is, and it's not. And so it's something that people are really liking, and a lot of positive feedback for the Mamba V3 for sure.
Now, so what are your thoughts on the MagnaCut?
I love it, and I'm always trying to expand on my steels, and I know I do a lot of D2, I do a lot of cryo D2 to try to beef it up a little bit. I'm trying to always hit those price points so that people can, I like having it so everyone can afford it for the most part. I mean, some people are at different levels, but I keep it in that sweet spot and always bring it down because I feel like I'm always trying to give value. That's kind of what I do. And I feel like if you hold one of my knives, that's $79 or $59. You go, this feels like a $100 knife or a $150 knife. That's kind of what I strive is to have people say, oh man, this is, I'm going to have this for many years. That's really what I go for. But as far as MagnaCut, I'll be honest, I wanted to do it for a couple of reasons. It's popular. Everyone loves it. And so when you make something like that, it gets their attention. And if it gets their attention, maybe they'll buy something else and get into the brand. I just want people to get into the Off-Grid brand, check us out. I mean, our customer service is as good as it gets, and that's very important. So I feel like all they have to do is buy one of my knives, and this usually happens. They'll buy one, they end up buying more. It's almost every time.
You need to put a warning label on your site. You're going to get hooked. If you go any further, you will get hooked. So I don't say I didn't warn you.
Yeah, and I say that humbly. Trust me, because that's like, really what you want and what you strive for when you sell anything. You hope that people like your products and stick with your brand and, give you a shot again and stay with you. And so I get a lot of, I'm going to be a customer for life. I've heard that so many times, and that's like my favorite thing to hear because it just feels great because that's what I shoot for. Yeah.
One of your most popular folders that people have been really talking about a lot, and I think it happens to be probably one of your greatest values on your site in terms of folders, is the Enforcer.
Yeah. The Enforcer, I'm doing the V2 version right now, or it's in design actually. So one of the things I'm going to change, first of all, it's beefy as usual. It's got very close to like the Black Mamba Mamba V3 type blade, but I'm redoing it because most people they like the grippy grip, which is like mega grippy. It's like the grippiest grip you'll ever have. It'll tear your jeans. But and that's kind of the biggest complaint. Yeah. And so where it's great on one hand, and it's, if you can deal with it, it's never going to leave your hand. It'll never slip out of your hand. On the downside, yeah, you might, sandpaper your jeans a little bit. But yeah, this one's really very popular, but I'm definitely going to probably still keep it grippy, but not as grippy. And then tweak it a little bit. Might make it a little bit bigger, maybe the little broader blade and so forth. Different pattern on the G10.
I have a question from the chat, but SCAB, go ahead.
Well, get the chat, and then I want you to ask Cary what we talked about right before about some of the branding and some of that.
Yes, absolutely. And we have to talk about that. And a mental note, I want to talk about your D2, the Cryo D2 and all that stuff. We'll talk about that later on. Someone in the chat, I believe, I recall, I think it might have been Gerbs. They had asked, they wanted to know what is your personal favorite fixed blade that you have designed and that you sell. Either that you have designed and didn't sell, or that you have designed and is selling.
Yeah. Gosh, that's a good one. Man, if I had to put them next to each other, because I also, and I'm not going to put these at the top, but these are selling very well. These are the chef's knives, like camping chef knives, super thin, slicey, the grizzly and stuff like that. That's a whole separate event. But I mean, personally, I love the Alpha Dog. I'm just, this is my knife. I love it. It's so beefy and it's everything that I always wanted in a knife. And I'm so happy that people like it because I can keep it around. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Alpha Dog, definitely. And then probably the Tracker X2 is probably, which I'm gonna come out with the X3, and it goes down from there. I really like this one as well, the Backcountry.
Yeah, Backcountry's awesome too. Yeah,
I like the Backcountry.
Very fun. Yeah,
I love how you did the design with the pattern here and how basically it's just such a great grip. I mean, you know what it is? It's grippy, but it's not to the point where it's uncomfortable. Like it's grippy enough where it's never going to slip out of your hand, even with wet hands. But it just it works. I'm
going to give a shout out for the Tracker X2, who gave me a good, who led me down the road for the X2 version, the V2 version. Was Donnie B all day.
Yes.
And he went into the shop and he contoured it and he took the original and started tweaking it and he showed me. I went, oh, that looks cool. And he's like, this is perfect. This fits my hand perfectly. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. And so, so I ended up tweaking it. So it made it a little more contour, but it still held that big, thick grip where you know you got something in your hand. Didn't lose that, you know.
Yeah.
Donnie has monster hands, dude.
He's a monster.
Joe, and Donnie went to Blade Show 2 years ago. You really don't realize how big Donnie is until you see him in person.
Okay.
He's a big dude. But,
Yeah.
So when you get feedback, how hard is it to hear? Like, even if it's, you know, and I'm not talking about trolls and I'm not talking about assholes, but I'm talking about, like, if you get legit feedback that may go against you, does it grate you a little bit, or is it like,
I will tell you the honest truth. I'm being dead serious here. I welcome it. I've always welcomed it. I've never been like insulted by it or something like that. I use it as fuel, really, to say, because that always ended up being a good thing every time. And so I would take the criticism, and it's a criticism because someone didn't like something about the design. Well, if that happens, if it happens once, it's just somebody's opinion. If it happens a couple times, a little more, and you start to get a consistent kind of a thing that people aren't liking, kind of like the grip on this, you know, I have to make a change there. And I'm fine with that. So I welcome critique. I welcome emails, suggestions, all that. And so I've been doing that from day one, because I don't claim to be, you know, I know everything or anything like that, because I don't. I learn just like everybody else, and that helps me learn. It actually pushes me forward, which is important.
have you had one miss? Have you had one that you just had your heart set on and it just didn't, for whatever reason, it's just like, damn it, it just wouldn't go?
Yeah, believe it or not, you know, the Ridgeback does not sell as fast as I thought it would. And I don't know why. I got to tell you, I love it. I think it's great. It sells slowly compared to all my others. And I don't know why. So I'm on the verge of saying, I don't know, maybe I let it go, or do I tweak it? Because I went back to the drawing board. I tweaked it. It was the second version, even though I didn't call it a second version, and it's still slow. I can't explain it. Maybe it's the look. I don't know. But when you put it in your hand and you put it to work, I'll guarantee you people would like it. But here's the thing. When you're selling knives online or any product online, it's got to have some look to it for someone to bite, right? They got to see it. They got to like the look. If it's ugly, they're not going to buy it. Okay. Another one was Wharncliffe knives. I've come to the conclusion Wharncliffe knives are ugly knives. Okay. They're great. They work amazingly well. I had a whole bunch in the lineup. People, you had this small section of people that loved them, and everyone else would buy them. So they would linger, and I said, okay, Wharncliffe, don't make that. So and everyone's saying, bring back the black. You know, I made the knife it was called the Black Stallion, and it was this big chunky Wharncliffe that I loved, that felt like almost like an alpha dog, and it was kind of a bomb. It bombed. And so, adios, I let it go.
Well,
I'll be right back.
I think that's important, man. And it's one thing that I see on this side, on the reviewer side, because there are some knives, man, that are just phenomenal. And you know they're phenomenal. But in the back of your head, you know they're not going to sell, because if it's a knife that you have to say, well, you've got to hold it for yourself, people aren't going to do it. No. They're not going to do it. And you can't blame them, but it's like, damn it, man.
Yeah, I know. And like, if I had a shop and you physically came into the shop and you held each knife, you got to test them out and stuff. It doesn't work that way online. Right. So I have to put all the information out with the photography top notch and every detail I can possibly put on there, so that you can have all that information to make your decision. That every piece the real estate on that page is so important.
And you do, if I could just interject with that, and you do, if you've ever visited Off Grid's website, the amount of details and pictures that you put in about every aspect of the knife all the way down is impressive. I mean, you put a lot of work into describing everything. You really do.
Thank you. Yes, it's very important. Very important.
This one was gifted to me from Jimbo. And you remember when I came out to Florida, Scab, Jimbo gifted me a Rhino. I thought this was a little weird when I first, based on the design and all that. But this ended up being one of my favorite folders. I mean, the performance-wise, the comfort, it's amazing.
Yes. This one popped into my head. I'm not joking. I woke up in the morning and I went, that blade shape, because it's a very unusual blade shape. I said, why can't I just go all the way down, instead of boom, boom, or anything like that? Let's just try it. And then I started drawing it and tweaking it and then made this nice little curve. So you have the tip that does some piercing and stuff, but then you have this nice gradual move. And then, of course, I wanted to make the big ergonomic grip. And this is a great seller. Everyone loves the Rhino. So I'm off to the V3 on this one. So
you had the V2, V3. Yeah, you come in right.
Yeah, so this is the V2. And
you got the baby Rhino.
And I got the baby Rhino, which, here it is, the little guy. So that's cool. One, here's what's crazy about this. It's actually the same width. So it's a tiny knife, but it fills your hand, So it's this small knife. So people love this as well. This sold very, very well. So, yeah.
It's reminiscent of a sharp finger. The blade style is a little reminiscent of that old school sharp finger. And I think that has a lot to do with it. A lot of people, because I love the design. Love the design.
You like the Rhino?
Huh? Yeah.
Like
I think it adds that bit of nostalgia when you look at it, because your first thing is that looks kind of like a sharp finger. You know what I'm talking about? That old.
Yeah.
And I think that appeals and ruminates with people. I really do.
I never thought of that. Honestly, I never thought of that. That maybe. But yes, it is an interesting looking knife. For me, it's totally normal because I've been looking at it so much. But when it first came out, I was like, this is a risk. Yeah. But people like it. They dig it.
And it's zippy. It's zippy.
It has a nice sound.
Oh, it has a great sound. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Oh.
Right. So that's a fun.
You brought up an interesting point earlier. Do you get a lot of kickback on your assisted openings?
In as far as the community, so you have two entities here. You have what we're doing right now is the community.
Yep.
Most people aren't knife people. Yes, there's a lot of them, and we think everybody's a knife person because we're in it. But in my world, I have to appeal to the widest amount of people. And that includes people who don't know anything about knives. And those are people who will pick up, a manual flipper, and they can't do that. So they go, oh, this isn't working. I'm pushing the button and it doesn't work. So when you hand them a rapid fire, it's just effortless. And they freak out and they love it and they buy it. So some of my top sellers are the rapid fire assisted knives. So whatever, if people can rip on it all they want. So as long as I expand the line and people are liking it and they're selling like hotcakes, I don't care. But I feel like this is an exception to the rule a little bit. This really does fire out. These are beefy. They are hard use. It follows all of my protocols for the other knives. It's got a torsion bar in there that fires the blade. That's the only difference.
I've got a ton of ZTs. I love assisted opening. Yes. I always have.
Yeah.
Now, for work and things, no, because it goes back to that. But just messing around and fidgeting, I love it. Yeah. I love it. I think it's and I think it's smart because here's what happens. Cary, especially in this world.
Yeah.
We want to believe, and there's YouTube and then there's Facebook, and we want to believe that's it. And we're actually a very, very small fraction of knife lovers and knife buyers around the world. We're a tiny fraction. Of course, most of us are the loudest. It's always the mouthy minority. But I like that you're catering, because that's an insanely valid point for somebody that's not a knife, or somebody to walk in and buy a brother or an uncle or something a knife, and they're
Yes.
they're going to go with something like that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You wouldn't believe how many emails I get where they say the knife doesn't work because they don't know how to work a flipper, a manual flipper. And then I have to, explain it, send them a video, the whole thing. But yeah, I love them. It was one of my earliest knives that I designed. Right after I started making a few that worked, the rapid fires came into play. And that's what really launched the brand. That's what got me to the next level. So my love for it is high. And yeah, I really dig the assisted, well, specifically these and the ZTs. The ZTs are always great, old school ones. Yeah.
Joe, ask your question that you wanted to talk about.
Well, what impresses me is, listen, I'm all about, I guess because I'm coming from my background, the swords, and I'm always into the whole fit and finish thing. It's got to be put together right. It's got to be, everything's got to match up. Everything's got to be aligned, because you're dealing with a lot of handmade stuff. With the knife world, a lot of things are machined, but for the most part, I still look for that same type of quality, fit and finish, and presentation. Presentation's big with me, before I ever even, I start using it. And then obviously that's another aspect of it. What impresses me the most, and I don't know if people really realize, is the fact that every one of your knives has its own graphic. Here's a Tracker X2. Okay.
Yeah.
Now there has something to do basically also with the Ridgeback, has something to do with the dog, right? I mean, there's a background with the dog with the Ridgeback.
Yeah, I have a story on that one.
There's a story behind that. So here is a Ridgeback. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you have that graphic there. Then you have the Cayman XL. XXL, okay, and then you have the products coming out here, and you're basically you're putting a what was the word I used before? You're putting kind of like a personality to each knife that you sell by using the graphic. And now a lot of people don't understand that you put a lot of time into designing, and this is just every single knife, your folders, your all-day fixie, every single one of them has its own dedicated graphic to be able to identify with.
Absolutely. It's very important. I mean, in any, it doesn't matter what you're selling. To me, one of the most important things is, to add a personality or a feel, or in my case, adding a logo a logo and a name to match that knife. And it's not just random, like, the Cayman literally, it looks like the snout of a caiman. And when I traveled to Costa Rica so many times, I went all over Central America. Yeah, there you go. It looks like a caiman. And so that's really was the inspiration for it, was all the times that I saw all these caimans everywhere. And, I surfed, so I would go up, paddle out in the lineup. We're always looking for these particular, crocodile type things, but they're caiman. And they have the longer snout down there in Central America. And so I was like, I got to make a knife that looks like that. And the Bowie already kind of had that resemblance. And so bingo, Cayman. And so then, of course, it starts EDC, XL, and then to the XXL. But it's so important to me. It's my background. I did a lot of graphic design myself. I took classes on it. I did photography. So I have that other side of me that really likes branding and things down that road of basically branding and things like that. I enjoy it. It's something that I really love to do. And so I've meshed them together and try to make it work that way. So people like it.
I love it. I love that aspect that, and I only started realizing it because I'm not one that likes, I save boxes, but sometimes I kind of just put them on the side and let them stack up. But I had them in front of me. I'm like, you know what? there's graphics on every single freaking knife. I mean, it's not just a logo, and it's like, and then I'm like, damn. I mean, that's got to take a lot of work and effort into doing.
So
it.
there's the Mama V3.
Yeah, I love it.
That's a takeoff from the original, but then we tweak it and make it different. Yeah, it's fun. Like, I love doing it, so it's a really fun thing to do. And honestly, I don't try to take things too seriously. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the knife world, and a lot of people get really worked up over it and stuff. And it's like, it's knives, and we love them, but let's not take it too seriously. And so that's kind of the vibe I'm hoping to portray, is that these things will kick ass. They'll do all these things. They're tough as nails, but it also, I got this side of it too. So anyway, that's the way I see it.
It matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a swedge.
All right. Can you see that question, Cary?
Yeah. They call it a swedge. Yeah, it's a swedge.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a swedge right here.
Yeah.
Now, do you ever sharpen yours?
Pardon?
You ever sharpen your swedge?
No, I've never done that before. Have you?
Well, on a couple.
Yeah.
This would be
You got
crazy.
to be careful. You've got to be careful doing that, because it will affect the integrity of the tip. But if you got one just for stabbing, but I mean, that's a great looking knife. What is your biggest? Is the Alpha Dog the biggest knife?
It's the, let's call it the beefiest knife, because it's not the biggest. This is the biggest. The XXL is the biggest. And some people are like, make the blade longer. It's like, I felt like this was pretty good size. That to me is a really big fixed blade right there.
It is.
Once I go a little bit longer, all of a sudden we're getting into like machete range, and funny I said that, because when I would go through Costa Rica, and I've been to El Salvador, I've been all over that place, Panama, and all the guys who would be doing the work through the jungle, we're always in the jungles and moving around. They're all carrying a knife and a machete. Right. And so I'd always roll up to them. I'd talk to them. They were always so nice. I'd hold their machetes that they would make. I mean, these guys make them in their house, and they were so cool. And they always had the thicker grip, and there's this awesome blade. And then they would show me their techniques, how they slice and dice their way through. It's incredible. But so a lot of my traveling to different countries has helped too, because I would always snoop around everywhere I was and kind of see what each country had in a different way. Right. But yeah.
Now, do you have a pretty good international presence? Are you building that?
No, and I'll tell you why. I dabbled in that. The knife laws, shipping into other countries, customs, I think the bigger companies, they have, the power to have an office in those countries, and they can kind of have an import, export, all these different things. It starts to go down this rabbit hole of things that make it very, very difficult. Forget, the UK, they're out, worst ever. It's like, do you know that their knives, pocket knives, can't have a lock? There's no lock. Yeah, it just flops around. I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to really keep your.
Oh my God, really? That's crazy.
So that was crazy. But in general, I wanted to. I tried selling in Australia, Japan. I tried Europe. So like Germany and over there, France. But it fizzles out because of the problems that arise. And I said, I can't deal. So I stick with the US for now, but my plan is to do that. Yes. Expand into some markets.
The knife laws in England or Britain and in Germany getting bad. And that's really what made me think about it. And we don't think about it a lot because we're not there, but as the channel's grown and I get folks from all over, people, there's a guy from Germany that follows the channel, and he's like, dude, I wish we could. We can't, we can't. And I'm like, okay.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I get.
You
Yeah,
can
you're
say
paying
this and survival knives.
Yeah, it's getting bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrible, but I know there is a way, and it just takes a lot. You know, I'm a small operation,
Yeah.
so it would take a lot of effort to really get that going. But I'm getting to the point where I'm close. You know, I'm working on breaking news. I'm working on a division of off-grid knives right now called off-grid gear.
Okay.
And so off-grid gear is going to sell a few things. One, more camping related stuff, and that'll be like hatchets, fire starters, saw, things like that, folding saws and things like that. And so it opens up a whole
Goes with your brand, the off-grid brand. That's awesome.
exactly. And then it will also sell off-grid gear. So, for example, I wouldn't be this knife, but this has 154 cm. If I made this knife in 9 CR and threw an aluminum handle on it, now it can be affordable to more people. So the off-grid gear would be more of like a Civivi. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Okay.
It's lesser materials. Off-grid knives will still be, say, the higher end stuff, and then the off-grid gear would have the lower stuff, but still make them high quality, as tough as possible, and keep those same standards, but just use lesser materials. So my cost is lower, and then I sell them lower, and now I expand to a different price point.
Well, here's two things that'll help you out. I give you two tips.
Yeah,
Make it sharp and make your handle comfortable, and people don't give a damn.
exactly.
If you can sell somebody a knife that's sharp out of the box, and you get that reputation, hey, them guys are sharp, whether it's unobtainium or it's 1095 or 420, whatever.
Right.
You already got the handles down. I love your handle. But if you just do that consistent, and then people go, especially right now, man, because everything's so expensive.
Exactly.
So if you give somebody a quote unquote budget knife, but that some bitch is sharp every time,
yes,
you'll blow it out of the water.
Thank you. That's exactly the concept. And look, it doesn't look to me like things are going well right now. Right. And people are hurting, and they don't have this money to burn like they used to. And everyone I talk to is saying, their sales are down, and that's across the board on everything. So the question is, does it stay this way? Yeah. I don't know. I just know I want to be able to hit that lower price point,
right?
Because people that can't afford a $79 knife.
Yeah. Cary, can I ask you a question? Yeah. This knife, you had a good sale going on Amazon with this. I think it was about 59. This is a Ridgeback, 59, yes. And then there was also like another 15% off through Amazon or something like that. Yeah. So this came in at like 50 something bucks, and I mean,
killer
the performance of this knife,
ridiculous,
killer deal.
Yeah, it's like I'm giving it away at this point. I know.
And I did a video of this, like a bushcraft versus bushcraft knife, and I actually reviewed it against a BPS knife, which is not that far off in price. But this thing, the BPS is great, but this thing blew it out of the water.
And you have my Carta. You have my Carta as well, which is
everything about it. I mean, thickness of the blade. I mean, just the performance of it. The Cryo D2 steel, which we got to talk about your steel. I think the steel does an amazing job.
Now, is that Sandib, or is that 14C, or is that the Cryo D2 one?
Cryo D2.
Okay, got it.
I think it says it right.
So, they're on the website right now. Yeah. So Amazon, those are sold out, but on the website, those are $59 on the warehouse deal.
Great.
So I'm just like giving everybody, hooking them up, good deal. And the knife is fantastic. Put it in your hands and you'll love it. It's just a slower seller. And so I'm just going to move them out the door and, give people a really good deal. That's what I want to do. That's why I have the on the website, there's a warehouse deals. Okay. And so I'll slide certain products that I have either overstock or things that I want to move a little bit faster. I'll drop the price, put them in there, and they fly. And so people will grab them because they're smart and they see that it's a killer deal. And so they're already a good value, and then they're already marked down, and then then you're getting a knife for a ridiculous value. So go check it out.
Joe, let's make sure we put his website in the description of this video.
100%. Yeah, I'm going to put that in. I'm going to put a couple of things in. Also and I also want to put in your Amazon page.
Yeah.
Sure.
Your Amazon store page, because you do a lot of business there too through Amazon.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, can I ask you a question? Because I always ask this question. So when we have knife people on, because a lot of people selling on Amazon, any knife that any off-grid knife that I or anybody is going to be able to find on Amazon, is that a legit knife? Are there any basically anything that we have to worry about on Amazon? It's all coming from you. All right,
it's all me.
Good.
Yeah, you go to any of the other large brands, Spyderco, Benchmade, whatever, you'll see 10 sellers.
Yeah.
So you'll every single one you buy on Amazon is coming directly from us.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good info. That's really good info.
And I was always amazed how many people buy through the website versus Amazon. I figured only people would go to Amazon, but a lot of people, they're happy to come directly to the website, which is great. And so we have a better interaction that way,
Well, there's a lot of distrust with Amazon too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of people been burned, so they feel like if they can come directly to you, there's no hiccup.
Definitely. And I hear that all the time. At the same time, my bread and butter, definitely Amazon. I mean, the place is a powerhouse, eyeballs, so many people, so much traffic. And my website's just a little, website's a great looking website, but, it's not like I don't have that huge name creeping up there, but I'm trying to just get my name out there, no advertising. So a lot of times people will buy on Amazon and then they end up shifting over to the website once they get my info. So that's cool.
Yeah. Well, and with it being you selling, that makes a big difference too.
Yeah.
Now Joe, did you want to talk about the steel?
Yes, I want to talk about the steel, but I'm also noticing the chat you had mentioned the gear, you offer gear like the subsidiary subsidiary website, and as you said hatchets, a lot of people's eyes lit up, and I guess a lot of people talking about hatchets, boys hatchets and stuff like that. So I think that's a good keynote for that.
No doubt. I have enough samples that I've made. I have boxes and boxes of hatchets of all kinds. I want to go out and shop everything, and nothing stuck yet. So once I started working on off-grid gear, I said, okay, this is going to be perfect for that. So I'm definitely going to have different size hatchets, from the hand size to the longer size, and probably get into the machete thing, and a lot of choppers and folding saws, fire starters, and other things that are, I don't know, that might work. So it's just going to be a whole new world for me, but I think it's going to be a smart move for the brand.
Good.
Absolutely. Perfect. And machete, everybody loves machetes.
Yes.
Man.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody
loves and a good everyday fixed blade. A good slip in your pocket everyday fixed blade is a 100%. Must. Those things are awesome.
Absolutely.
Scab will be online for those immediately because he uses those on a daily basis.
Yeah. And so as long as people don't care and they know they're getting a lesser steel, they'll just have to sharpen it more. Big deal. Do you want to pay $30 or do you want to pay $80? It's up to you. And so that's kind of what it comes down to. If the price point could be under 49, call it, for off-grid gear, that opens up a lot of people who don't want to fork over an $80 to $150 and up.
Right.
So
right. I like that. I like it a lot.
That's the goal.
I like that.
Let's talk about the steel. But Scab, something you noticed, because you've reviewed many knives from off-grid, okay? What did you notice basically on their blacked out finish? I'm trying to get two knives in my hands somewhere. The way you guys do your coating, okay? And listen, I caught with them, I batoned them, I beat the shit out of them. Scab does even more. The coating is perfect. It looks like I didn't even use the knife. You use what, like a PVD coating, the blacked out coating?
Yeah, sometimes DLC, it depends on which ones. They're all different, but for the most part, they all hold up because I always try to give it that stonewash finish.
Yeah.
It does hide your work. You know, the stuff. I know you guys are going to be just going crazy with it and doing your thing, and it's always nice to have it where you don't see a lot of wear and tear. Eventually,
it's perfect.
You're going to see it, but it holds up.
Yeah,
it holds up.
Yeah.
And I really like, you know, doing coatings. It's just my thing. So titanium nitride, I do that. The PVD, I do that. Some DLC.
Where do you put the titanium nitride? Is that on the Scorpion?
That is on the backcountry right here. So I know it's on this one.
Backcountry. Okay.
And you know, it will not. You know, like you said, you can really use it, and you won't see much wear and tear on it, which is great. That's kind of the whole goal.
That's what impressed me the most. That these knives, guys, you could use the shit out of these knives, and they do such a great job with how they coat these knives. That and you guys know this ain't what I'm talking about. You'll get knives that are coated and they look great out of the box, and as soon as you use them for the first time, scratch, scuff, scratch, and it's like it's like you don't even want to use it anymore. But I haven't had that problem with any of your knives, and that's one thing that I really wanted to highlight. That I really love about your knives, that even after use, they still have that integrity. Okay, in terms of the blade, you know.
I love hearing that. That is great. And I've never heard a complaint. I'm not joking. Zero complaints on the coating. So that was always something super important, and did a lot of testing on that.
Yeah.
And once we got it down, and we, you know, if you make a mistake, because people will start to say, hey, what about this? What about that? But haven't heard anything negative. So sticking with the plan.
I like it. Now, D2 has been in the discussion in the chat for pretty much ever since we got on, because a lot of people there was actually a discussion in the chat about D2. And someone like, I'm warming up to D2 now, or some people say, no, what are you talking about? D2 has been great all along. I got to try some off-grid knives with the D2. I've been hearing a lot about them. Talk about your decision. Now, cryo D2. Tell us your definition of it. Tell us why you use it. Why are you successful? Just let us know about that steel, because a lot of people talking about it.
First and foremost, what I'm trying to do is find a steel that can kind of hit a middle balance, including the price point, so that I sell it at the right price point, but also offer the performance. D2 performs. People can, it's got this strange community stigma hanging on D2 like it's this terrible steel. It is not. If it's done correctly, it will go all day, every day, and you will chop, and you don't have to sharpen it. It's amazing. It's tough. It's almost stainless too. That's another cool thing. It's not stainless, but it's darn close. And so it holds that edge. It's tough. It's strong. And when it's hardened correctly, it does what it's supposed to do. And then the price point is the key, so that I can get it affordably, so then you can get it affordably. That's kind of what it comes down to. I found that middle ground with D2. And so then throwing in the cryo is, once I started learning the benefits of that, it actually makes a difference, because I've had knives of mine, like the backcountry, the first version versus the second version. One was regular D2, one was the cryo D2, the V2, and anyone will tell you there is a difference. And so it's right there. People are using it and giving the feedback, and they notice a difference, because it's a genuine difference. Like, there's molecularly getting down to the molecules, how they pull together in the process, and they hold tighter, so that it ends up being more of a stronger steel, which holds the edge longer. It does all these crazy scientific things that are above my pay grade. And I just know it works. And that's all that matters to me. Yeah.
Well, the Cayman XL I think that was the cryo D2, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it held up I think I even talked about it throughout the thing. It held up. But it's just a matter of knowing what you're doing. That at the end of the day, like this one, and I've drawn a blank, but it's the 154 CM, and I love that steel.
Me too.
This steel has done really, really well, but there's another one that gets a bad rap. But again, it's how it's heat treated. It's how it performs. It's just, all it takes is one dipshit, and people take it and run with it. It goes down to the mouthy minority. That's what it is. That's what it is on all of it.
It's true. And, in the knife community is a different world from, I'll call it the real world, because most people don't care, right? They wouldn't know D2 from 154 CM at all. They just know they got the knife in their hand, they're on their campsite, and they're chopping away and they're doing the thing. So, wow, this thing really, really performs. And that's all they know, and that's all that really matters if you think about it. But when you get down, people get really into it and get into the details of it. I get it. The whole knife thing, we all do it. But if it performs and it does what it's supposed to do, and I can offer it at a fair price and give value, then I'm going to go for it, And so I'm kind of pushing more towards the cryo than just the D2. So
now, this will lead me to my next thing that I want to talk about, your OEMs. And you made a good point as far as when you were talking about D2 being a great steel. Now, D2 in itself can be a very good steel if it's done right.
Right.
And that's a key point, that you guys basically take that D2, add the cryo to it, and you're doing the steel justice. You're doing it right, and that's why it's working on all your knives.
Right.
Because, and I always say, and SCAB knows, we have discussions about this all the time, that the Smith and the heat temper, basically the formation of the blade of the steel is more important than the steel you're using. It's the skill of the hands of the craftsman that will interpret how good that steel can be.
Exactly. And that's what I'm hoping to get from off-grid gear knives. That'll be the lower price point, but still treat it right, make sure it's heat treated correctly, and offer the same value with those lower price knives, because if we can treat them similarly to what we're doing now, I think it should work. But absolutely, you could take any steel, and it just depends on the maker and how well they treat it. Absolutely. It's like the number one most important thing when it comes to a knife steel. Now,
do you do all the QC, Cary?
You mean when I get I test it thing? Yeah. Yes, 100%. And so if it's not, I don't release it until I'm like 100%. 110%. And they get really annoyed with me because I'd be like, it's just not there. And they're like, oh, really? So I just make sure that if it goes out, I want it to be at least what I know, what I would want to buy myself. Forget about me as being the business. It's like, I just look at it straight from a knife guy. And if I feel like it's good to go, then I pull the trigger and hope for the best. So.
Well, that's all you can do. Really, and I've done several reviews. Joe has too, and they've been consistent, and that's why I was asking from the first. I think back when I first started the channel, Kurt let me use his Alpha Dog. He said, "Man, I got this on Amazon. It weighs a pound." He said, "You got it." So, I was intrigued by it. Yeah. And it's a tough, and from time to time, I'll go back to it. He lives 2 streets over, and so we'll head over there. But it's just a beast of a knife.
It really is.
It's just, I like it. Yes, it's a tank, but it's also got that nice wide blade. Yeah. So if you wanted to, you could thin it out behind the edge and have a hell of a slicer.
That's one I got to try out. For sure. I got to try that one out. That's nice.
Yeah,
it's great.
I like it.
That's a great one. And, I tried something that I dabbled with that is now taking off and doing very well are the camping chef knives. And and so this one right here, this is a Sierra, which is so thin and so slicey it's a chef knife when you get down to it. But I added the beefy, typical off-grid handle.
Yeah.
And made sure that it has that huge knuckle clearance, for the chopping.
Yeah.
And this one's taken off. This one is slowly but surely, people are starting to realize that this is really an awesome knife to use. And you don't have to be camping. You could use it in your regular kitchen. So a lot of people are replacing their regular, they're chopping with these. It feels like
Yeah. What do you put on the D2?
No, this is 14C28N.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So it's a great steel for that. It's perfect. Really fun. And people take this camping, and it's got the sheath just like you would, but it's a chef knife. So it's that crossover between the two of a fixed blade camp knife and a chef knife. So it's like outdoor barbecue, camping, and then home kitchen. And so,
I like it.
And then I got the Grizzlies, what I started with. So this was the first one that's also a chef knife. So it's cool. I got guys who are like pit masters, and they're out there and they're just, and they're doing the thing. The grill's just massive, and he keeps it on his side. Most don't have that, and they love it. So they're running around and they can just boom, they pull it out, they're cutting, sheath it back in, and so I get some great feedback from a lot of like big time chefs and cooks and things like that. So that's very satisfying when I hear that and see that.
That's a perfect niche to get into with those knives. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it was another thing where I'm like, I don't know if anyone's going to buy this, but little by little, they're I don't know, coming around.
Right. Can we talk about your OEMs? Your choice on your OEMs?
Yeah. So I started with, I'll start with, we all know We. And I worked with We with the Elite knives, which was the first version of the Black Mamba. So I had them make the Black Mamba. It was great. And then I had them make the Scorpion knives. Where is it? So the Scorpion knives, I put some carbon fiber inlays and have this kind of harpoon-like, deal going on. And so I was working with We, and they made a few runs for me. And then when I said, hey, I got an idea for something else, they basically said, you're out. So they just got a little too big. And they're like, you're too small. We don't need you. So they kicked me to the curb. I said, fine, I'll go somewhere else. So I went over to Best Tech, and it turned out to be a great thing for me because they worked a little tighter with me.
Yeah.
We is huge. They're a massive company. And I just think I was too small for their liking. They wanted guys who were like name designers and things like that. And so I'm like, no problem. Adios. So Best Tech's been great. They create really high quality stuff. I've met them personally. I looked at all their stuff beforehand. It took a while for me to find another OEM. And Nick Shabazz was so cool. He got on, Nick Shabazz? Yeah. He was so cool. He got on the phone with me and gave me information, this, that. And he said, go with Best Tech. And I was like, Best Tech, I didn't really know much about him. And so he kind of gave them a little bit of a boost in my mind. I'm like, well, I may as well check them out. And he was right. They did a great job. And so I ended up doing a lot of other things with them, similar, like the crazy little fat, chunky Raptor.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, this sells like hotcakes. So talk about a risky knife to put out in the market because it's so weird looking. But you want to talk effective? This right here is absolutely a cutting machine.
Okay, it's got a curve to it. Can I see that again? The tip?
Yeah. So it's a hawk bill.
Yeah.
I call it a hawk bill. Yeah. It's a vicious blade. I mean, crazy. But it's a 3-finger grip, so it's on the small side, but also more broad. So Best Tech makes this, and so they started making. They made the Rhino for me. And then they just made the Mamba B3. So now we got and they're great. They're good. They're in the knife community too. People respect them, and they care, and they really do a fine job. So I stuck with them, and then I also do all my fixed blades in Taiwan. So I do kind of a mix, and it was just one of those things. I met with the company. They were super. They don't make their own knives. They've made knives for big companies before. And once I got a few of their samples in hand, I went, oh, these guys know what they're doing. And so that's what kicked off the Tracker X. So I started with that, and that was the very first fixed blade I ever made. And that took off and did very well. And yeah, so Taiwan and Best Tech at this point. And then I'm working with another company right now developing a new Elite Series knife with probably 20 CV steel, titanium, something on the higher end side. Kunwu. Have you guys heard of Kunwu?
Mm-hmm.
Kunwu knives. So I looked around. They reached out to me. They started doing an OEM, and they came to me. I said, yeah, let's develop it, because I already had one in mind. So I'm working with them right now. So I might be adding another OEM there. They make some fancy stuff, like really cool stuff. So I'm excited on that one. It's called the Polaris XL.
Ooh,
so stay tuned for that.
Fancy Polaris. I like that.
Yeah. I'm going to do an EDC version and an XL version. So it's going to be a cool.
Well, I mean, listen, whatever they're doing a good job, man. I mean, I just all your folders have perfect action on them. They've never failed me yet in terms of basically action on the folders, D10, whatever you want to call it. The rapid fires are excellent. The fixed blades are all great fit and finish. And it's like, I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass. I mean, I honestly really just do love your product.
I know you do.
And I've loved it for years. So it's like, if I'm passionate about it, it's not because you're here, because I'll do it without you here. So it's just, I just really do like the product. You know? Yes,
I've seen your videos. You're legit. You really do like the knives.
I do like them. I really do, guys. I really do.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome. The fact that you guys, like the knives is like fantastic. And then when you guys drop the videos, it's amazing. Yeah. So that's great.
SCAB's gonna like this. Can you show us? We were talking off air about your plans with the Scorpion, the third version of the Scorpion.
Oh.
And you said what you were going to do with the blade, and I think it's a phenomenal idea.
Similar to the, the Mamba, I really went a lot bigger with the Mamba. Got a lot bigger, so I'm going to kind of do there it is. I'm going to kind of do a similar things where the profile will be the same, still be a harpoon blade, but I might make it a little bit longer and a little bit broader, but keep that same swedge look at the top. I'm not sure about the inlays. I may keep them, may not keep them. I don't know. What do you guys think about inlays? Keep or not keep?
I would keep them. It makes it a little lighter too, because it's titanium.
Yeah. So you got the carbon fiber in here, and then you got the titanium. So yeah, it'll be a broader, thicker, and then I'm going to round off the corners a little bit more. And so that's what we're working on right now. It's in design and that sort of thing. So the bigger, the better, right?
And that's your best quality folder that you guys sell.
Well, right now I would go with the Magna Cut.
No, the I'm sorry, the Magna Cut, because that just released. Yeah, the Magna Cut.
This had M390, which is no slouch, right? Yeah. We're fine with that. But the Magna Cut is what people are really liking right now. So it's a great steel. Amazing. Stoked on it.
I like it a lot. Joseph, where are we at? What do we haven't covered that we need to cover? We got a few.
I think we're at the point, SCAB, where we covered a lot, and I can't believe we've been on for over an hour. The time just flew by, man. It's an hour. Am I wrong? It's an hour and 20 minutes almost.
Something like that.
I did not even realize it's that much time that passed by. I mean, it's been a pleasure, but I think we're at the point, Cary, where you let us know about the new subsidiary, the gear and stuff, but where do you have anything in terms of the future? Can you tell us where Off Grid is going other than that, where you would want it to go? Just let us know what we can look forward to with Off-Grid moving forward.
Definitely want, look, I've taken this very slowly on purpose because you can't move fast in this industry and survive. And so I'm at this point where I feel like I'm at the cusp of really taking a big leap, just business wise and the brand wise. It's right there. I'm getting reached out by a lot of different companies. And so you kind of know your name's getting out there in that respect. So, even Costco has reached out, things like that.
Really?
And that's a big deal. That's crazy. And so I've been talking to them and developing a product with them. So it's right on that edge right there. And, I would love to see the brand take that next step. And if I can do that in the next couple of years, push forward a little bit and just get out there a little bit bigger. I definitely want to do that. And Off-Grid gear is my new baby. So I'm going to really, really try to work hard on that and start just introducing new things and more affordable fixed blades and some folders in that brand, in the Off-Grid gear. So it's really a mix of both, and just keep pushing it a little higher, but don't go too fast. It's not good. So that's pretty much it. But I appreciate you guys having me on for sure. This was awesome.
Yeah, no, I like your philosophy, and I like how you approach your knives, and I love the motto of basically overbuilt, but I always call it overbuilt with a purpose. Nothing could be overbuilt unless as long as it has a purpose to it. So that's always great.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. You guys like the.
Hey, thank you for being with us. Listen, when you get, and we offer this all the time, and I think people think we're full of shit, but if you have something you want to announce or drop, let us know. We'll come back. We'll do another show, because I've really enjoyed it. And there's a couple more topics we need to cover next time.
Yeah.
Where you're at right now, leave us with a couple thoughts, not really where you want to go, but maybe just a couple thoughts where you're at right now. And then Joe, you take it from there, and we'll get out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely, first of all, I appreciate just being involved in this, because I'm definitely in the community, but also outside of it as well. But I appreciate the knife community so much. Everybody's sincere. Everybody's, for the most part, out of all the things I get, 99.9% positive. And that is cool. And I would imagine you guys experience a similar thing too. There's just an authenticity in this community where you can't bullshit a knife guy. You can't do it, right? So if you're inauthentic in this business, in this industry, you're going to get killed. Mm-hmm. So I try to be upfront. I try to be honest. Ask me a question, I'll answer. Send us an email, we'll answer. And that's really what I want to do. And if you don't like the knife, send it back. Fine, return, and then tell me why you didn't like it, and we'll make a change. So that's really my philosophy, is customer service,
right? Make
everything better, and just slowly grow the brand in a positive way.
Awesome.
I like it. I think you guys are killing it. Joseph?
Absolutely. Guys, listen, everybody in the chat room, if you had any questions about Off-Grid or for Cary, I'm sorry if I didn't get to it, but if you may, put it into the comment section, and then maybe we can have Cary look at it if there's any questions, or direct it towards you guys if you want to, whatever it is. If you wanted to put into the comments if we didn't get to it, but it was just such an engaging conversation that it's hard to get to the chat, So this was good. This was what I wanted it to be. I enjoyed it. I know there's a lot of other topics that have to come into play with Off-Grid and with the knife market. And like SCAB said, if you have anything new that you want to present that's coming in, definitely shout us out, and we'll get you on right away, and we'll do a show about it. It doesn't have to be, the once in a year thing. I mean, if you have something coming up and you really want to get eyes on it, please let us know, and we'll definitely put a show out.
All right. I appreciate it. 100%. I'll take you up on that.
All right. So I'm going to close it off, and Cary, stay in the room when I close it off. Everyone that joined us on Blade Talk tonight, I really appreciate SCAB and we all appreciate you being here with us. As always, we got some other shows coming up for the rest of the month, and I hope you can join us for those too. And thank you all for being here. Have a great evening. Thank you, Cary, again for being with us, and looking forward to the next time, without a doubt. And guys, if you haven't tried Off Grid Knives, take a look at their site. However you can find them, Amazon, their website. They're great stuff, man. Especially for the money, they make them good knives. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you when we see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Ciao.
Awkward pause.
Awkward